So we are literally living in a new era of technology. Most people don't yet realize that you can literally build software products. I'm talking web apps, mobile apps, and other kinds of software from idea all the way to production with users, people paying for a subscription or one-off product or even personal software, depending on what your goals are, simply using AI tools. In this video, I'm going to show you how I was able to take an idea that I conceived of some months ago and the process I went through to build this idea from working through validating the concept, designing it, building the idea using AI tools like Cursor, and then actually deploying it into a production environment, the process of getting it approved on the iOS App Store. And this is something that I did by completely vibe coding the app. A lot of people talk about vibe coding today, and it can mean different things, but most people don't realize that not only can you now vibe code MVP and early prototypes, but you can actually take an app to production by vibe coding. And so if this resonates with you, then make sure that you are subscribed to this channel, that you hit the notifications, and let's get right into this. So the app that we're going to be talking about is a contact management app that I built called DropCard. DropCard is a networking platform where basically you can exchange contacts. If you're at an event, it could be a conference, it could be any other sort of event. You can get people's information by scanning their card, and then you can have them scan a QR code that you have, and it leads to this web profile that they can get of you. Here's the landing page for it. And it also comes with this physical card that complements it. The physical card is something that you purchase. The app is something that is free to download unless you get an actual paid plan. It is something that I spent quite some time working on to get off the ground. Now, it again was completely vibe coded, and a lot of what you'll see right now on the web, you have platforms like Vibe Code App, for example, or Rourke. These two platforms specifically are right now sort of the leaders when it comes to building mobile apps with AI, as far as the quickest way to go about building a mobile app with AI, and also the most sort of user friendly and enjoyable experience. The way I built DropCard was using Cursor. Actually, it was using the platform Cursor AI. We have that right here, along with Xcode, which is the native development environment for iOS Apple apps. Now, I bring up Rourke and Vibe Code because I love the direction that they're going in, and they are continuing to elevate the space of building apps with AI. However, what I will say is that I haven't seen anyone really talk about the process of getting your apps actually approved on the App Store. And so in the case of iOS, and of course you've got the iOS platform, you've also got Google Play Store, which is through Android Studio. Getting it actually approved is a whole different sort of beast than simply building the app. So a lot of times what you'll see right now when people are talking about building mobile apps with AI, they talk about building the apps and then they talk about sending it to the App Store, which typically means sending it to, in the case of Apple, sending it to TestFlight. TestFlight is the beta testing platform for iOS and Apple. Now, in order to actually get it approved to be on the App Store where you can have a friend or family or customer download the app to use it officially, there's a whole other approval process. And that's something that can also now be done completely with vibe coding. So we'll get a little bit into that in this video as well. But to backtrack on the ideation process. So how exactly did I put this together? Well, this flowchart here shows the process that I found to be the most effective when building an app with AI. And so you begin with a large language model, like I like to use ChatGPT, where you ideate. You speak your thoughts back and forth. I used the voice feature within chat, and then it'll help me flesh out what I'm thinking. You can do research within ChatGPT, and even now you have Atlas, for example. Atlas is the agentic browser for ChatGPT, where you can put in a uh, a research question, or you can describe a task. It'll go to the website. It'll bring you back information, and it's integrated into ChatGPT, so you can decide and talk through what you're thinking about building. You can research the market size. You can research conversation that's happening online. You can have it go to Facebook groups, have it go to Reddit threads, and bring you back information that will help with deciding, is this something that I believe people will use, that I believe meets some sort of need, pain point, can serve as a painkiller, or the terms are painkiller or vitamins for people to use. And so with DropCard, what that meant was building an app that allows you to simply get people's contact information when you meet them in person, and then they can scan for your information, and then when they scan for your information, they get access to this web profile URL that they can download and then save to their phone, so they have your contact information. And so once you have that idea down and you know what you want that MVP to look like, you can then take that idea over to a platform called UX Pilot. UX Pilot is a designer. It's like an AI designer. I found that the designs that UX Pilot gives you, bar none, is better than anything else out there that I've tried. And I've tried a lot of different solutions. So UX Pilot, and one of the beauties about just all these different tools is that they're constantly updating. So the UX Pilot now even has a composer in its platform where you can actually prompt off the rip. But typically what you would do is you create a new design, and then you can actually, so if I pull up a new file, for example, and I'm just going to put here testing, just because we're testing out, just to show you what you're able to do is you're able to put a prompt for the context of what you are going to create. So you're going to hit create flow, put a prompt to describe the context of what you want to create. The context is just like, you're creating a mobile app. This mobile app does XYZ, or is about XYZ, and then you're going to add screens to it. So you're going to have a sense of what are the screens for this app going to be. So in the case of DropCard, we're talking about a share screen. We're talking about a card screen, a contact screen, a scan screen, right? A setting screen. And so those are the screens that you will be putting here, pasting in prompts for those screens to get created. Now, you don't have to create those screens yourself. You don't have to even create the prompts yourself. That will come when you're ideating with the chat. So the chat will give you the actual prompts to use. You paste those prompts in here on UX Pilot, and then it'll give you screens that you can now transfer to your environment that you'll actually be developing your app in. So to give you an example of what that has looked like, so I'm going to show you a screen for, so this is one of the screens for the web profile URL. This isn't the for the main screen, but it's for the web profile URL. So if I show you the web profile URL, you can see the resemblance, right, of this screen here, and then what you see right here in the middle on this UX Pilot page. So I was able to communicate with chat, paste in that prompt here, and it gave me the single screen. In this case, all I needed was a single screen. But for the other screens here, which is the flow, which would be multiple screens, again, you can communicate back and forth to get the prompts to put into UX Pilot to get all the different screens that you will need. Now, once you have the designs ready, and I also did the logo for DropCard pretty early as well. You can see right here, this is the DropCard logo right here. I also did this with ChatGPT, and my prompt was something along the lines of, you're an iconic designer. You've designed for the greatest companies in the world, and you're taking those talents to what we're building here. And you can use whatever lingo you want. You can get creative with it, but you want to provide the large language model with a role, that role being a world-class designer, and then the task being to create the design how ever you want it to be. You can describe sort of the feeling that you want in the app that you're building, and to express that feeling through the design. And so I made the design relatively early as well in the process, before I then went over to Cursor to begin building. So I mentioned that typically you go from Chat GPT to UX Pilot, UI UX Pilot, which we've discussed, and then you'll go over to either Lovable or Bolt in the case of a web app, or Rourke and Vibe Code app in the case of a mobile app. Now, I actually skipped that part. I didn't go to Rourke or Vibe Code app. I went straight to Cursor and built it out from scratch with Cursor. So I went to Cursor, opened up a new project in Cursor, and I'm just pulling up the DropCard app in Cursor right now. I went over to Cursor, and then I also went over to Xcode. So Xcode, you're gonna need to download that. Once you've downloaded it, all you're gonna do is create a new project, and then you're gonna create an app. Click on app, name the project. It's gonna be Swift UI. The language is Swift, and then once you've done that, it's gonna put you into this development environment, and then in Cursor, when you're opening up the project in Cursor, you're going to open up the project that you created in Xcode. And what that's going to do is it's going to link your Xcode project with Cursor. So now when you build within Cursor, and in Cursor, you're going to be building completely with AI. So you're going to be building with AI in Cursor. And because it's now linked to your Xcode, it's going to reflect in the Xcode environment. And Xcode is from where you're going to be able to send it to the iOS App Store. So I'm showing you here, this is my code platform here, and you're able to see the app. You'll see right here where it says any iOS device. That's where you can actually test out the app in a simulator on your computer or on your actual phone. You can test it out while you're building. And then right here where it says main, DropCard at main, this is what the actual project is. This is what is being updated back and forth with Xcode to Cursor. So whenever you make an update in Cursor, it'll reflect in this what is called main, and it's the main branch that's being built in Xcode. So now the process of building in Xcode was simply using the chat. So right here you see it says Composer 1, and this is actually a new feature in Cursor, but you can literally just type in prompts using natural language, using English, and it'll start to create the app. Now, one other point to make is that this right here is the Cursor, the chat native to Cursor. Now there's a additional chat right here. So they have it on the right side, but you have they're extensions within Cursor. So if you click this arrow right here and then click extensions, it shows you a list of like extensions that you can download to Cursor to use. So I downloaded the Codex extension, OpenAI's coding agent, that allowed me to now code with OpenAI's coding agent, which is actually connected to my OpenAI ChatGPT account. So it's within the $20 a month plan. And so rather than having to code with Cursor, I could actually code with Codex within Cursor. And so then I could bounce back and forth. I could code with Codex. If I want to code sometimes with Cursor, I can do so. But that was a way of like bringing down the price significantly, because again, it's all within that $20 a month plan when you're using Codex, and you have the best models in the world. So the models you have access to, GPT-5 Codex, GPT-5 Codex High for the reasoning, which GPT-5 Codex High is the best model right now, hands down. And so from there, I just went through the process of building this app. I had ChatGPT give me what is called a product review document, which is a blueprint for kind of the steps in the process that I want Cursor to take in building out this app. And then when I went to Cursor, I prompted Cursor to let's go step by step through building this application out. And so that meant building out the screens. That meant building the onboarding for the app. And then in the case of this app, since there was also the web profile, I created a second project that was specific to the web profile that you saw. That's this right here. And so that links to the actual mobile app itself. For the back end of the app, I used Supabase. That is where the database is stored, where all the images that get created are stored, all the authentication for the app, how people sign in, that is all done within Firebase. And simply, I prompted my way through the whole application. Now, when it came to setting up that database and you're using Supabase, you simply click Get Started in the console. And I already have obviously DropCard here, but you can create a new Firebase project, name that project, and then you go through a process with Firebase to get it set up. And so DropCard was a project that it took time to like really work through everything, right? There are actually four repositories that I created in order to bring this to life completely. So you had the main repository, which is for the actual app itself. You have the web profile, right, repository. You have the landing page, and then you have what I'm calling like the redirect, where if you purchase an actual drop card, which I mentioned can currently actually be found on TikTok Shop. When you purchase a drop card, you can activate that card. Once it comes in the mail, you tap the card onto a phone, or you go to the site, you input the card ID, which you will have when you get the card and it arrives in the mail, and you put in the URL that for the profile you create on the app itself. So on the app, when you create a card, you get this profile URL that you can copy right here. And then that's where you paste in to activate the card, so that the card that you create within the app, because you can only create a card once you actually have the app, links to the physical drop card. And now you can use that when you're out and about. You just tap the card on somebody's phone, and it uses NFC technology to pull up the web profile information. So there's a project dedicated to that around like activating the card and updating the card that you use. And so that is for the process of building out the project itself. In order to save, I created a GitHub account for this project, the repository. So on my GitHub, you'll find the drop card is private on GitHub, but you will, in order to save, you create a new repository, right? So you go to repositories and then click on new. You title it what you would like. In this case, it was drop card. And then now I simply can type into the Cursor project, save this to, or push this to GitHub, and it'll save where the application currently is at that time. And so as I was going along, and there were parts of this that I was actually doing for the first time, and parts of this that was new, especially even when it comes to like, let's say, creating a redirect for the card itself. Any questions I have access to ChatGPT and to this super intelligence. And so you are always able to get it answered. Any sort of, that's why the thinking around how you work with the LLMs is so important, because pretty much anything is figure outable through the prompting now. And so once I was done with the application itself, I mentioned pushing it to Apple. So for Apple, you need to create an Apple developers account. And the Apple developers account is $99 a year. And for that $99 a year, you can build as many and push out as many apps as you would like. Now, most people in the industry right now, when it comes to apps, mobile apps specifically, are using something called React Native. So there's a platform called Expo, and Expo is a React Native framework. React Native is a way of being able to build apps with the language JavaScript that allows you to release the app as an iOS app, an Android app, and as a web app. Now, most people, when they release an app, usually just release it on one platform first anyway. But React Native, that's the beauty of it. However, it is also sort of a wrapper in the sense that it's not actually native to iOS or native to Android, right? But it's a framework that allows you to build for these different platforms. I actually went down the route of not using React Native, which is what these mobile app builder platforms are built on. And I decided to go from scratch. So I used Cursor, and the language rather than React Native was Swift. And then I pushed it directly from Xcode to Apple developers. And how did I push it? How did I even know how to push it? Well, I used ChatGPT, and it gave me the step-by-step instructions for going about pushing the app out there. And so maybe I'll do a dedicated video on even just like the process of pushing the app out and how to ensure that it gets approved. One of the kind of sticklers is Apple can be very, very strict with approving apps on the iOS store, especially now with the rise of AI. But once you have specific parts in place, like the right terms of services, the right images for your screens, the sizing, the right data transparency, then you can get it approved. And it took 2 times for me to get the app, 2 submissions for me to get the app approved. Now, one other aspect to talk about is the paywall, right? So for DropCard, there is an ability to upgrade your account, right? So if I go to the settings and I click on upgrade, right, you can purchase a monthly plan, right? Or you can purchase a yearly plan, and it gives you different kinds of access. You get access to an AI chat that's coming. You get access to unlimited selfies. There's a feature where you can like take a selfie with somebody you meet and then save it to remember, kind of put a name to a face for this networking app. Now, typically when it comes to these kinds of apps, I mentioned React Native. Now, what a lot of people do is for the payments and subscriptions, they'll use something like Revenue Cat right here, or they'll use something like Superwall. Originally, I actually used Superwall, and I was having a lot of challenges with it. So I ultimately decided to just vibe code that from scratch as well. And simply through prompting, I was able to vibe code this paywall that you see right here was something that was literally vibe coded. And so everything from beginning to end was purely vibe coded. Superwall is pretty cool in that they have added sort of a vibe code integration. And I'll say some of the benefits around even using these platforms is that it will also give you analytics and make it easier to kind of track your just like activity, like the activity that's happening on the app. But again, with vibe coding now, you can build all of that functionality into what you're doing. So that was sort of that last step, getting the paywall onto the platform and then making it in the way that Apple asked for the Apple developer. And once that was done, I was able to literally submit this to the App Store and get it approved. So if I go back to this right here, that last step after you've built the app is the Apple developers, you get it approved. And that is honestly where the story begins, right? Because once you've built the app, right, you've built the app, but of course, now you've then submitted it. Once you've launched it, now you begin marketing it and you begin creating the kind of flywheels and pathway in order for it to begin performing. And that's where DropCard is now up to. I will definitely be doing more videos around how we got it approved on the App Store, and then even thinking around how we're going about now marketing DropCard and the TikTok account that we've created for it. And as we now start to actually post on the TikTok account, and just the process now of the distribution aspect of building with AI, which isn't talked about enough and honestly is extremely important now. Building is just step one, and distributing is that next step. I hope this was informative. It kind of gave you a high level sense of building a mobile app with AI and what that looks like. If you are a beginner and you're just getting started, I highly recommend following this process and then going from UI UX Pilot to a vibe code app or a Rourke. And with those, you may even be able to get it straight to the App Store from there. And I think what's one really great, especially with a vibe code app, is that you could take the app and then transfer it to Cursor if you need to develop it further. Because Cursor, if you get stuck on an app like vibe code app, then you can develop it further with Cursor, and then from there you can push it to the App Store and begin that process of getting users and growing the platform. If you want to join a community of people who are building apps right now with AI, I implore you to join the Vibe Code Pioneers. We have weekly sessions on Wednesday where we talk about what we're building. We go through the tools. You can ask questions. You can connect with others who are in the space. When you come into the platform, there's also a Vibe Coders MVP roadmap that you can go down. It'll show you how to build out your MVP from beginning to end, specifically for, in this case, it's a web app. And you join this community on the ground floor right now. If you're interested in building your app with AI, especially before others really get into this space, then you can do so with the Vibe Code Pioneers. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be doing more around this, and I will be doing more videos around DropCard as I begin to get into the now more sort of promotional phase, if you will, and marketing phase of this. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. And I will see you on the next one.